Hi, everyone. So I'm super excited that you have chosen to get your cell well-being epigenetic assessment so that you understand what changes you need to do, whether it's exposure to 5G or using the microwave less, or just obviously the dietary changes, including more fruits and vegetables, including your seeds, your legumes, fermenting, sprouting, etc., etc. So stay tuned to just better understand your report, how to interpret, and also where to access our resources made at Successfully Human so that you are set up for success. And when you have your next assessment, which can happen anytime after 90 days, you get to see how all of your discipline and efforts are playing out and changing your epigenetics. So let's dive in. When we open our assessment, that looks like this. Please note, again, 90 days. And this is not any diagnosis at all. This is looking at what our hair follicle is storing, what information is vital for us making those decisions. So, don't panic if you see things like food restrictors. It is for 90 days only. So if you have, for example, if we take this example here, and it's saying food restrictions are cantaloupe and avocado. Oh my gosh, I would have a heart attack. But blueberries, corn, whatever it is, it's only for 90 days. Now, keep in mind, for example, if you see cherry, it says red. So if there's an other type of cherry, like I know there's ones that are more yellow, those are perfectly fine. If you see, for example, if it says corn, it is all corn products unless it specifies. So just bear that in mind and try your best to adhere to those 90 days of just finding some other options that give you your vitamins and minerals and enzymes, etc., that are not those that are listed. Now you're going to notice it says system support summary. It always kind of prioritizes four. So in this case, it shows emotions as number one, protein synthesis, sugar metabolism, and then fatty acid metabolism. And this is very valuable information because we want to know where we want to focus, right? Us as practitioners and you as just a conscious, accountable individual for your well-being, where do we really need support? So if we see, for example, that meditation is showing, well, maybe, or emotions, I'm sorry. So maybe we want to implement more meditation. Maybe we want to do some lifestyle changes where, maybe we want to be around people that are a little bit more positive minded or control our environment more, whatever the case may be, but it at least brings to the surface some changes. Now, in this circular section where it says, optimize immunity and well-being overview, you're going to notice that there's numbering. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's going to categorize by order our priority. Now, in this case, notice how number one is an antioxidant and it has a P. Right over here, it tells you in the key indicators charts, P is priority, A is advisory, and C is something to consider. So if I am looking at this, and this is my assessment, I know, okay, number one, my antioxidants. Now notice how down here, it tells you exactly which ones are maybe not in perfect balance that we should pay attention to. Zinc, coenzyme Q10, for example. Then you go to 2, also showing as priority. That would be vitamin. So now I know down here it's vitamin B6, B3, K2, vitamin B12. My third, interferences, right? So ELF, TV screens, RF, radio frequency, microwave oven, etc., etc. My number 4 is food, which are the food restrictors, which it'll tell you there. It's also on page 28 or indicated there on the top, which is those that are listed. And my, let's say hypothetically speaking, this was mine, number 5 would be my fatty acids. And it tells me there, right? I got to look at my omegas. So my linoleic acid and my alpha linoleic acid, 3-ALA. Now, for some of us, this can be a little intimidating. Some of these amino acids have very fun word names, antioxidants. Sometimes it's even hard to pronounce, let alone understand. Now, before we go further, just by this section, we can do the following. I would personally just write down, okay, antioxidants this, vitamin this, mineral this, before we even go further. And we have created resources that are focused more on plant-based fruits and vegetables and legumes and nuts and seeds for just the reason of trying to make it something that's more easily assimilated in your body. I mean, unfortunately, we live in a time where a lot of our animal products are exposed to many things. We have a lot of parasites that are coming alongside, some of our products. And of course, we are not here to make everybody plant-based. We're not here to advocate. I personally, just through my PhD, know that it's a lot easier for our body to process these naturally derived, foods. And so that's why we have made that choice. You, of course, when you go through this report, you will notice that it'll give you recommendations, all types of categories, chicken, fish, and milk. We have just making that initiative to give you options that are more on the plant-based section. So when you start to scroll down here and it goes into individual, for example, you'll start to see here vitamin support foods, like right here would be dairy is number one. I know many might be lactose intolerant, etc. So we have put this together so you have other options. It is completely your preference, but it is available. So let me show you where to go to do just that. So one of the things that you are going to have access to is to our Google Drive. You can select in Spanish, you can select in English. So when you come here, you're going to have access to a bunch of folders, daily recommendations. So if you're looking at something and you say, well, how much do I consume? Um, you know, what is my focus for this vitamin or this mineral or this fatty acid? It goes by category. So if we go, for example, let's just go to the vitamin section. You're going to notice it goes by age. So if it's a child from 1 to 8, it gives you quantities, right? We look here. If it's 1 to 3, these are the daily recommendations. If they're 4 to 8, these are the daily recommendations. These were all derived by various sources for the United States. Some you will notice there's no official US daily recommendation, like the very first one. But we tried to do our best to make it as simple as possible. As you still continue to scroll down, we go into the teens, 9 to 13. Then we go into adolescents, 14 to 18, and you'll start to see how they differ because we have a different demand. Then we have adult male, 19 to 50 or up. And then we have the adult female, which will be the last one. Now, and it'll be the same concept here, right? When we go into, for example, our mineral, you'll see, again, the same concept, the adult female, the adult male, etc. Because in some, you will see that it differs. For example, the adult female, it'll say, 8 milligrams and then 11 for a male. So you can explore that. The next thing that we are going to look at is the food guidance. That's actually, I think, one of the most important, which is these lovely sections. We've worked with a lot of passion and love to create this for you all. So again, if you are looking at the section of, let's say, vitamins, sticking to the concept, we're going to go to vitamins. We'll open it up and it has every single vitamin listed, right? And so the cool thing is we'll be able to scroll and look at what are our options, right? So if let's say we're looking at vitamin A1, we'll look and say, okay, carrots raw, sweet potatoes baked, butternut squash, and it will tell you how much it has per 100 grams and what does that look like, right? So if you're saying, well, I want this quantity, it looks like 1 cup of grated raw carrots, or it looks like 4 to 5 whole. Uh, this one is apricots raw. And so we've definitely tried to break it down in a very visually appealing, colorful, and easy to understand. Um, just top 25 for each category. So the vitamin B2, and also please note for almonds and in general for all legumes, I highly, highly recommend to just please soak in water, especially almonds, the peel. Don't consume the peel, soak them in water. The peel will easily come off. It's better to digest. Please look into that. When I was studying my PhD in natural health and specialty in trophology, which is food combination, these are things that are little, but they really go a long way. Just the beans, the lentils, the rice, soak them in water because they have something that's called an enzyme inhibitor. So for those of you that eat beans, you can get a little gassy sometimes. So when you soak them in that water and you wash that water before you start boiling, it releases that enzyme inhibitor. So just a fun fact there. So you're going to enjoy all of this and each category. You go to amino acids, it tells you essential, non-essential, and the same thing. It'll be one by one, and you'll be able to pick and choose to your liking, right? If you want leucine, well, okay, start with soybeans and then hemp seeds, which are amazing. And so you have all this. So the way that I navigate is again, you just go to your report and just that very first page, remember that very first page, you're looking at it. And if it tells you, okay, antioxidants, based on this first example that it said was antioxidant was the very first thing and zinc and CoQ10. So you're going to do just that. You're going to go to antioxidant section and you're going to say, okay, the very first one that it said, if it was, my report is zinc. So, and CoQ10, right? Or coenzyme Q10. So here it is, the peanuts, the pistachios, the sesame seeds, and then I go find my zinc as well. And through this lovely long presentation and you have everything accessible and at your fingertips. Now we are going to go back and you also have additional resources before I move forward. And these additional resources also talk about structured water and some important information that comes directly from cell well-being. And the other information that is here on EMF and ELF, we're going to show you where that is found so that you can follow along here. Let me open the report again. There's definitely a lot of stuff to share. And a lot to analyze, but don't be intimidated. So we keep scrolling through here. And as you start going to page 4, you're going to notice that, again, this kind of shows you again those 4 system priorities. What you're going to notice is, let's say in this example, there's 3 other sections that are highlighted. And the reason why it doesn't say 5, 6, 7, 8 more is because, again, we want to kind of have a focus. We don't want to overwhelm ourselves with so many things to do. But this is highlighting to be mindful of our circulatory system, our gut intestine, and our immune system. Now, if you run into a situation where there's a section that's really small, and we'll find an example, also pay attention to that. Now, when you go here to let's say page 5, it says personal immune support or system support indicators by category. So it's once again telling you, hey, to support your immune system, let's go through the vitamins and the minerals, antioxidants. It highlights for that. Food restrictors, right? Specifically, these are going to help that. And then it goes to go to the next section, gut support. All right, now it's telling you, all right, based on the epigenetics, now remember, it checks over 800 markers. It is a very, very thorough. This company has been around for 20 years, serves 68 countries around the world. It is very good stuff. Very good and valuable and accurate information. So it tell you, okay, to support your gut, right? We're looking at electrosensitivity, toxic metals, viruses, for vitamin B12, cysteine, maybe some more meditation or breath work for emotions, really restricting that core and rye. So it gives you more of a breakdown, right? For circulatory system, this is what we're going to focus on. Now we get to the frequency interference. And for example, if this is mine, I'm looking at, my number one priority is ELF, extremely low frequencies. Then TV screen. Maybe I gotta cut a little bit of the TV time and pick up another hobby. Then we have radio frequency and microwave. So maybe just putting it back in the pan or trying to eat it fresh versus sticking it in the microwave. And this is really good information to be mindful of because we can sometimes forget how 5G and exposures to a lot of these interferences can really have an impact in our epigenetic. And again, it'll give you some recommendations. It's completely up to you what you want to follow. Now, this is a perfect example. Now we get to the vitamins. And it had highlighted these four as priority, right? The K2, the B6, the B1, the B12, and notice how it has a P for priority. But I want you to pay attention to something. Look at vitamin K1. Vitamin K1 is extremely small in size. So even though it's not highlighted, I'm going to make an emphasis to also write vitamin K1 on my list. And when I'm going through my food guidance, I'm going to make sure that I write down some that are top in vitamin K1 because I want to make sure if you look at this, it's like you have a round cake, right? You're at a birthday party or you're at an event and you have this cake and each slice is for a guest. You're not just gonna give a small slither for one guest and a big old chunk for another. You want to make sure that that split is as even as possible. That's how you gotta look at this. You want to make sure that the wheel is divided so perfectly even. That's where our goal is. So just to kind of bear that in mind. Again, it's going to give you its own recommendations, and we have ours that you can choose from. We go to the mineral section, exact same concept. So I would be looking at calcium. Okay, notice how this one, it's not fully filled in, it's not fully blue, but it is highlighted in the outside. So it's something you want to consider. It's not P for priority, because it's when it's fully filled in and it has a P, it means start there. But this is still something I want to consider. And silicone, right? Calcium, all these areas that are a little bit on the small side, I also want to put attention to. Fatty acids. Now, this one, it has an A, which means it's advisory. And it tells me which to focus on. So you'll do the exact same thing. Go back to our Google Drive, write them down, and extract what are some delicious things to eat. Antioxidants, same thing. So if I'm looking at this, I'm also looking at alpha lipoic acid, right? And the anthocyanins because they're very small. So again, looking at the whole cake, looking at the whole pie, wanting to make sure that it's fully divided. Amino acids, another great example here, the tryptophan's looking a little small, just anything that looks outside of that standard size. Also, please write it down. In this situation here, it has, a few that are bolded on the outside, just the frame, not filled in. And look at leucine. It's like you barely see it. It's labeled, but it's like one little yellow line. So I would be putting a lot of emphasis into that as well. And tryptophan and those that I mentioned as well. Because think of the concept of like building a house, right? If we don't have enough cement, if we don't have enough nails, if we don't have the right tools, the wood and and the whatever, whatever else, the metal, the piping, the plumbs, well, the foundation's not going to be ideal. And so just that same, foundation that our body requires to thrive. And then we go into the environmental challenge indicator. Now, in this section, notice how it says toxic metals. It doesn't have a P, it's not fully filled in, but it is indicated. So when we go here, let's go where we're gonna explore. We're gonna go right back into our access, our Google Drive. And if you need more information about what exactly is this EMF, ELF, this is a lot of valuable information that we put together. So you can be educated on how these things impact you, right? Where do they come from? Who knew refrigerators and generators and water pipes and the remote sensing, the when you're in the plane, or aircraft beacons and weather stations and all these things, they have an impact in us. um and this one's really cool, everyday exposure levels. It actually tells us up to what happens, what's our exposure when you're blending. Oh, I was shocked at that one. When I'm blending something, holy smokes, if it's if I'm within 4 inches, that's my exposure, versus if I'm 3 feet away. So now what I do, I just hit the blender and I run. I come back and turn it off. But the hair dryers, fluorescent, lamps, the coffee maker, my goodness, the vacuum cleaner. Oh, so much good stuff to know and learn about. So all of this is at your exposure. And again, all these resources. Then we're going to go to toxins. And it gets broken down. So if we have, for example, toxic chemicals. Well, what are they? What can they be? And what do they do? Well, look at this beautiful information we put together for you all. If it is plastic, this is what it can contain. This is where you can get it. And this is the possible side effects, like what body systems that it can affect. Apologies. Medication, exhaust fumes, the standard pollution, varnishes, glues, dyes, detergents, pesticides, disinfectants like perfumes, fabrics, bleach, etc., cosmetics, personal care, ink toners, on and on and on, right? Insect repellent. So you get to see here some things, some common chemicals to look at, and what they get, toothpaste, right? Mouthwashes, and it's just very valuable information. And then if yours says radiation, we'll go to this section and it's gonna tell you, all this information. And if it's toxic metals, there's a section for that as well. So all of this is put together for you to really have that time to add the pieces and to inspect, if you're a female, what deodorant, what sprays, what perfumes, what does it have? What is it made of? What is around you that can possibly be impacting your health? Um, so I really hope that this is very insightful for you. And the last is the food additives section. And that you're going to see towards the end. I'll go back to circle and you can see this, but we broke it down too, right? You'll see these numbers and it tells you again what to look forward to, um, of what are body systems that it affects, right? What do they look like? Where can you get them from? But doesn't this look really familiar? All this lovely stuff that we see around. And it can be very harmful, very harmful to us, the lovely gummy bears and all these things that especially, our children are exposed to. And so, again, we hope that you enjoy and you learn and you expose yourself to all of these very valuable, insightful information. And when we go back to our presentation, let me share it again so that you can see where that is. And you keep scrolling down. Oh, and another very important thing, there's the resistance indicators, which is the microorganisms. So like in this case, I have a virus that's identified. It's not fully, selected. It doesn't have a P, so it might not be in its full active form. It might be shedding. But this is a great way to know if we have an active bacteria, fungus, we have mold exposure, parasite, host virus. It's amazing. And then, it gives us again our food restrictors, and then we go food additive avoidance. So this is where we look at. You see all these numbers like E142 and E633, or it has names. Not all of them might be there because there's a lot of food additives, but you can do a quick Google search as well if it's not already on our archive and done for you, where you can just see, hey, where is this found? What does it look like? And these are specific to you. It's not a general list, but very specific to you. And if you want to ever use their specific information, right here underneath step 2, there's 4 hyperlinks. You just click on them and they open up to a presentation from Cell Wellbeing. And this section right here, these last pages, it's a step-by-step guide. Again, you can choose to follow this. We just gave you another option of more plant-based. just consuming structured water. As you know, if you have a microorganism like virus, parasite, one of the top things is biomagnetism that changes the environment so that, if it's a parasite or a bacteria, it can only thrive in a very alkaline environment. So if you make it neutral, it can't survive. If it's a fungus or a virus, it's a very acidic environment it has to live in. So you can change it, thrive as well as it can. It can't thrive at all. And so we go through that process of moving hydrogen ions, and we can always support you with that as well. And so the part of it has some great stuff you can use here. The part of the actual implementation of your plan and nutrition is completely up to you. But our big objective is to educate, to expose, bring awareness, and really just capitalize on all the resources we have made, our wellness portal. And we do hope that this experience has brought so much knowledge and empowerment so that you can really take charge of those decisions on the day to day, from what you think to what you eat to how you hydrate to your deodorant to your lotions to what you're exposing to yourself at work and how to protect yourself and the 5Gs. And if you are like me and use your Numian and Octagon and everything to block from all these things, whatever it is that you do, just be proactive. And I hope that this was very insightful. And if you have any questions and need further resources, of course, we don't know everything, but we will gladly see what we can do. But definitely start where we have put together some stuff in our wellness portal. And happy healing and happy transformation and empowerment to you all.